Hi, I'm Paula Vogel, and I'm in Group 2. And after watching the video, uh, um, I was really interested in the epigenetics and the rat licking. And so I kind of looked into that because I was thinking, well, how does this epigenetics and our outside influences, families and friends, society, how is that affecting our genetics and how we function? And I looked into that, and the epigenetics can transfer everything from poverty to drugs, society, your family, influences your genes to the point that it can influence your children's genes and your grandchildren's genes. And I didn't read any other information that went past your grandchildren's. And then I looked into some other things, and it said that it can be reversed. So whatever happens to us, the stresses or our influences, isn't going to affect every generation from now on. So, but any thoughts on that?
My name's Kent Houck, and I'm in Group 2 as well, obviously. And I did think the video was very insightful as far as epigenetics, all the stuff that I've been looking at nature versus nurture. I think this is the most viable explanation for whatever is going on anyway, as far as how people and their personalities develop. I thought the twin study early was interesting, because I went to school my undergrad. I got at KU, and I had a set of twins, the Keatings, that were in my fraternity house, and they were super similar coming into the house. And then after about 4 years, one of the brothers, we hung out quite a bit, and I was a little bit more on the crazy side than the other guy was. And so we hung out a bunch. And then after 4 years, even though they were the same coming in, Ed ended up becoming a really good friend of mine, and he was one of the twins, and they hung out, and he took on some more traits, and we did some things that not his younger brother, actually it was his younger brother by about 2 minutes, Jerry, and then they just grew up differently. So I thought to myself, well, that's a perfect example of, when we're talking about the nurture part of it. I mean, they came in exactly the same, and after 4 years, they were different people. I mean, I could tell they were different people, and they're different people today. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought it was interesting with the rat licking experiment, and the fact that you could change the genetics and have that methyl group turn off particular genes. And I thought that was really interesting on it, because I've always thought that you could take a student or whatever in a different situation, depending on their environment, and I think they change who they are. And this is proven, or one theory anyway, that is showing that that nurturing can actually change the genetics of someone too. So I really thought that was interesting. So that's what I had on it. What about you, Michael? What do you think?
Okay, sure. My name is Michael Eddy. Thank you so much, Doug. So for me, I come from healthcare all my life, so about 40 years of that, and I have a doctorate and also health administration in addition to that. And here in the past 6 years, talking about the video, but also in real life, we have chimeric identical twin granddaughters. And so I've had the chance to help raise them and see how they have changed over the years. And even though they look just like each other, they're nothing alike each other. And so it's interesting. One's like their mother, one is like their father. And so it's the model that we always operated on in healthcare. And I started out in the 70s. And so we always thought, before we understood genetics, because we did not have the DNA sequence yet, and we didn't know how to deal with changing medications with patients, is that we always thought once we were able to map everybody's genes, we could start making alterations and help people. And we can help them. But as far as the personality is what we have seen is, it's kind of, especially this video kind of helps with that, is to understand that people's traits are what becomes of them and are not necessarily DNA driven in that sense. Their environmental area is what we have also seen in the world of research now, that we can change and move out of our current situations as long as we can get the type of, I guess it would be like a plant. If you water and feed, is the child going to do better, or even the adult for that matter? And so that's kind of what I've seen. In addition to that, just talking about one of the articles that we were looking at about the 5 big traits is that we tried to make this really simple with all the personality tests on the other side, on the nurture side. And as what we've seen, we cannot quantify that either. And we've never been able to, but yet we keep trying. And so interestingly so, we did not even have a diagnosis for what we would call situational depression. That's who one of the leading psychiatrists came out and said, hey, we no longer can just look at traits and say that's who we're really going to be. There's other issues involved, maybe just at that moment. But anyways, so it's been a big change for how we deal with healthcare, because we finally were able to deal with people with even situational stuff where it would not be recognized before. You had to fall in a box, a stereotype. So there's certainly some changes going on. But yeah, that's about all I have. Or TJ, or you got anything to put in?
I'll go next. My name is TJ McGreevy. I teach in Topeka, USD 501. And as far as the video goes, the thing that really stuck out to me was the experiment with the rats. We kind of already covered it, but I really see that in my school because in the way I'm at a school in inner city Topeka, and it's a pretty low economic, high poverty school. A lot of the kids have gone through some pretty serious trauma already in their lives. And, as far as that rat experiment goes, the one that was kind of licked and cared for and showed love, it kind of was passed down generation. The one that was kind of left alone, seeing that's how they were passed down. I can really see it in the students, the kids that, are kind of like the rats getting licked. They're really loved and cared for by their parents, are a lot more successful students than the ones that, kind of their parents are into drugs. The ones that, those kids are really the ones that are coming to school seeking attention, whether it be negative, acting out in class, just going crazy. So I think they're the ones looking for attention, searching for attention. And a lot of that is just, I think, comes down to nurture. You got the students that are really, they have a pretty positive home life. They're coming to school to learn and to get educated, and, they have goals. And then the ones that don't know where they're going to eat that night, they're kind of, out there on their own fighting for their lives, and that, they're not as worried about their education. They don't really care what they're going to do later on in life. They're more worried about, where they're going to eat that evening or where they're going to sleep. So I've only taught for 2 years, but, this is something that just pops out to me right off the bat last year. Just coming down to kids that, want to get attention from home and they're not getting it. So, they come to school searching for it. But as far as the video, that really did stick out to me. Not sure if anybody wants to add on to that or
I got a question for you, TJ.
Yeah.
I'm curious. That's super interesting to me. That you think that the two different environments that they're coming to school with that experiment and the rats licking. Is it going to be possible to change those kids around, the ones that are coming from a tough thing? Because basically what that's showing, maybe we can change their genetic makeup. I've got a few students like that too, and I'm convinced there's a way to change those kids. Even though they're looking for they're wondering where they're going to eat that night. So this is the last thing on their mind. I totally get it, but I'm just wondering if there's a way to make that change genetically through the nurturing.
Oh, I mean, I absolutely think there is a way, and hope there is a way, because I mean, that's why we're there, is to guide these kids in the right direction. Those kids, I think, are definitely a lot tougher to get them going in the right direction, just because there isn't that support from home. But I mean, I think when it comes to nature, I do think every kid, it's in there somewhere that they do want to be positive to life, to, you know, be a successful person. It's up to us to convince them that yes, they can do it, and give them the confidence. But you know, each person is different, and you know, you got to find the correct way to, you know, get into that kid's mind and drag them, you know, the right direction.
Good point. That answers my question. I have a couple. I've coached for 35 years, and I find that to be true. I find that sometimes kids need a release or something else that they feel important about, and I've been able to have a little bit of success with that in sports, and I know you have too. And you know, you've taken a couple of kids that if they hadn't had that, they had nothing. They had no home life to go back to or anything. So they built confidence that way, and they started to be more and more confident. Now they're confident adults, which is the biggest reward that you can ever have, is to have somebody that graduated 7 or 8 years ago invite you to their wedding, or you know, to do those kind of things, or have the kids or call you when they come into town and say, hey coach, can we go to lunch? Can we do that kind of thing? So hopefully you did something right, you know, to make that happen. So I mean, it's good to see all you guys doing the same thing. So
and
reconfirms it a little bit.
I do agree that, you know, sports or band or, you know, extra curricular activities are really where a student can find who they are. You know, I mean, not every student is going to go off to be a doctor, but, you know, a kid that gets into sports and becomes a confident person, you know, they might develop themselves into an incredible businessman or something like that. So, yeah, just trying to find the talents in each kid.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That we've got to find the talents, figure out what makes them tick, and help them to develop to who we think they can be, and let them know that they can be more than what they are now.
Yeah, we can certainly, I agree with that, Paula. We can offer them more than they think they can be. And so I think that with Coach Houck over there, he can attest to that. Help them raise those people up to a new level that they haven't seen before. We get 4 years with each of them to try to accomplish that, hopefully.
I've got an example. Just the other day, I have a student who, you know, his dad's in jail. His mom is homeless. He's living with his grandma, and he's complaining about how his grandma's so hard on him, and you know, he's been skipping school. I'm sure he's getting into other stuff that he shouldn't be. And you know, and I asked him, I was like, well, why is your grandma hard on you? Well, she just keeps telling me I'm going to end up in jail, blah blah blah. And I said, well, I'm sure she doesn't want you to, but. And we started talking. He's like, no, I know. And I said, so what do you want to do when you get older? What do you want to be? Like, how are you going to make money when you grow up? And he sat there. He wouldn't answer it. And then I asked him again, and it just shocked me. He goes, I want to be a pharmacist. And I was like, all right, well, now we're getting somewhere. You know, at least you have something you might want to strive for. So it's up to me now to get him, you know, into the, you know, set up in the right classes, talk to the right people, so that he can keep pursuing that goal or dream to be a pharmacist, which, you know, a lot of teachers won't give him the time of day to even talk to him. But, you know, knock on wood, maybe I just saved a kid and he might be a pharmacist someday. But that's quite a few years down the road, but it's got to start somewhere.
That's awesome. Okay, well, does anybody else have anything to say or add to our program for today?
Yeah, I think I mean, I could talk about that stuff all night long. 'Cause I love that stuff because, you know, when you do it long enough, you've got some success stories. Of course, you have failures in there too. Obviously, you don't reach everyone all the time, but I mean, there's 2 or 3 kids that I can think of now that I know would be in trouble. You know, they didn't have a home life, they didn't have anything, but they had something to go through. They built some confidence, and so you know, there's no way that it wasn't nurturing on that because it couldn't. I mean, they could have had the genetic makeup, but they needed the licks. You know, they needed those, they needed those things to help them and give them some confidence. And you know, I keep thinking about this one kid that I've got that I like TJ's example too, because those are the ones you can hang your hat on, or they're real life stuff. And had a kid and he ended up being probably one of the best shortstops I've ever had. Took us all the way to the state championship game. And, you know, after we didn't win that game, and he's just in tears, but he comes over and hug, you know, it's just the relationship on that. And to this day, I mean, he called me, we played golf Sunday, and he's been in the military serving all over the world. Right? And he's got 2 kids and a great wife and bought a house and did all, and I just look back and go, man, that is what it's about right there. So, it's the same thing. That's kind of why I tried to, you know, I thought about getting into teaching too, and just try to reach more in different ways. And I got a lot to learn with that, no question about it. You know, just like anybody, everybody, you know, culture shock a little bit when you get it happening. But if you can just reach, you know, if you just make a difference once, you know, or twice or 3 times, it pays off. So that's all I've got. So I really appreciate all you guys' input. That helps me tremendously.
Well, cool. All right, so we're kind of approaching the end of our discussion for today. So any final thoughts or input?
It was nice meeting you guys. I think we had a pretty good conversation here, and I definitely did get some learning tools and you know, impactful stuff from this module. So good luck to you guys, and it was nice meeting you guys.
To you.
Same here. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
Good. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.